We got a special video for you today, guys. We got a brand new mold from Do It Molds. This was just released at ICAST in 2023. It's the Finesse Swimbait jig head. This Finesse Swimbait jig head has awesome features in it that we're going to talk about in this video. Recessed eye, Screw-Loc in it, bunch of features, and this thing has a ton of great action that's built into the head of this jig as well. There's a couple features that I want to highlight about this mold before we get into pouring some of these jig heads. One of them is the recessed lure eye that I think is going to give a lot of great realism to a finesse style jig head. The other thing I want to talk about is the Screw-Loc that is built into the head of this swimbait jig head. A lot of people have been modifying their jigs for a long time and adding these in on their own. Do It Molds has you covered with this particular mold. No need to modify it for that Screw-Loc. You're going to be able to put on whatever plastic trailer that you want, and it's going to last for a long time because of that Screw-Loc. Real quick, I want to let you know about my Do It Molds affiliate link and the product list that I have down in the description of today's video. That product list is going to get you dialed in on everything that you need to make these Finesse Swimbait jig heads. And that Do It Molds affiliate link is going to let Do It Molds know that I sent you over to their website, and it'll get me credit for any sales. This Finesse Swimbait jig head mold from Do It Molds takes the 10111 Victory hook. It takes the 1/0, 2/0, 3/0, or 4/0 hook, depending upon the size jig head you are making. You can make up to 6 different sizes with this one mold. And then it also takes the Do It Screw-Loc, item number 2017. That goes right into the mold. It's super easy to do. Let's get into making some of these jig heads. If you use one of these Lee pots like I do, I recommend you put your mold up on top of the Lee lead pot. It's going to get that mold nice and hot, and it's just going to make it a little bit easier to get complete pours. It's also a good idea to do that with your components. Put them inside the mold, let everything get nice and hot, so that way you get complete pours. For today's video, we're going to be needing the 4/0 hooks from Victory and the 3/0 hooks from Victory. I already have some set out onto the table. We're going to be making the 3/16, the 1/4 ounce, and then the 3/8 ounce. I'm using the little bit bigger sizes because I think it's going to come through better on camera. The first thing that we need to do is get this Screw-Loc onto our hook. There's a specific way that you're going to want to do that. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the hook point and you're going to go straight down into that Screw-Loc. So that Screw-Loc top part goes up along the shank of your hook. We have 2 3/0 with our Screw-Locs ready to go. That's the 3/16 ounce size that I'm putting in right now. And you have to get this Screw-Loc to be on the right side of the hook shank, so that way it goes into its slot. There's a slot for that Screw-Loc along with the hook shank. We got it in there, and just got to kind of move everything around till it all falls into place correctly. Same thing with that 1/4. And now we're going to go over to our 3/8 and put this guy in there as well. This one has the 4/0 hook in it. So now everything is in place. Time to close up the mold. Everything is nice and flush. I always like to check to make sure everything's flush along the top, because that means everything's closed. You shouldn't have any flashing. Like I mentioned earlier, I like to put everything on top of the Lee lead pot, so that way everything gets nice and warm inside that mold. Now I'm going to check to make sure we have good flow. We do. So now it's time to put our mold under there and start pouring out these baits. Now it's time to check them out and see how they turned out. Let's check out our jig heads, see how they turned out. I think these Finesse Swimbait jig heads turned out really good. As you can see, there's a lot of detail with that recessed lure eye, and then even in the gill plates, there's a lot of detail there as well. As we get further into this video, I will talk to you about the design features and what that's supposed to do underwater. Okay, so once again, I'm going to show you guys how to put these Screw-Locs on. You're just going to go straight down into the Screw-Loc and bring everything right along the hook shank. Then we're going to be able to come into the mold and put everything inside of our mold. Now we'll get the one for the 1/4 ounce. And then lastly, we'll get that 3/8 ounce in. Close up the mold. And we're going to check to make sure that everything's closed and flush along this top line of our mold, which it is. Now we know we're not going to get any flashing when we pour these jigs. The mold should already be hot. We're going to start off with the 3/8, but first we're going to check for flow. We got good flow. Here's our 3/8 going in, 1/4, 3/16. Now we'll check everything out. Let's open up the mold. Check out our jig heads. There's our 3/8. Turned out really well. Now we're going to go over to our 1/4 and 3/16. Those turned out good. We're going to have to do a little bit of trimming because we had a little bit up in that hook eye, but overall these jigs definitely turned out good. We still need to clip those sprues and clean out those hook eyes. That happens pretty much anytime you make jigs. You have to do a little bit of trimming, a little bit of filing. That's normal. I'll show you how I do it right now. Now when I clip these sprues, I just like to take a pair of shears, just like these ones, and I just clip it. Just like that. And there'll be a little bit of a rough edge on there, and I just take a file and I file it down. Now when I have lead in the lure eye, I just take a different pair of shears. I use a different pair because it will dull out your good set, so I use a different pair that's already dulled out. And then you just kind of cut around the top, and then just like that, the lead will come off and you have a clean eye. We are going to be using two brand new colors from ProTec. The first one we're going to be using is Electric Shad, and then the other one we're going to be using is River Shad Reflection. These are both very cool ProTec powder paints that are brand new and available now on the Do It Molds website. The Finesse Swimbaits on the right side with that blue pearl are Electric Shad, and then the ones on the left side with that whiter color with the gold in it is River Shad Reflection. Both brand new powder paints from ProTec. And you can also see that I need to clean out those eyes on those hooks, which is pretty easy. So what I like to do to clean out the eyes is take an eye buster tool and clean out the hook eye, and then I'll take a hook point to clean it up a little bit more, get everything that the eye buster doesn't get. And you just simply take the eye buster tool, clean all that out, break it apart, and then I just take the hook point and go right through, just clean everything out. Do it on the other side as well. Just make sure there's nothing in there. Clean off some of the excess with your fingernail. And now you're ready to go bake. What we have right here are clamping racks. I highly recommend getting these. What these do is they hold your jigs vertically like this, so if you have any paint that leaks down, it'll leak down on the actual shank of the hook rather than puddling up on the bottom when you hang them up upside down like this. So get some of these clamping racks. I'll leave the link to the Do It Molds website down in the description, along with a product list that'll include these clamping racks. Using the clamping racks in the toaster oven, super easy. All you gotta do is put them in there and they'll stay flat because it's got a flat bottom on it. Then we're gonna turn our toaster oven on to 20 minutes on the bake setting at 350, and then they'll be ready for those 3D lure eyes. Our Finesse Swimbait jig heads are done baking, so our paint is nice and durable now, and it's time to put these Hyper HD lure eyes on from Do It Molds. So what I like to do is I take some of the super glue and I just dab right in the middle of the eye, as much in the middle as I can. It doesn't take a lot, you just need a little bit to get it to stick. And then take a pair of tweezers. I like to use a pair of tweezers because it just helps me to manipulate the eyes a little bit easier. You just set everything in there, just get it to sit in place, and that super glue is going to go to work super fast. Sometimes I'll use epoxy, but today we're just going to use the super glue. Some people use epoxy, some people use super glue. I think the epoxy works just slightly better in my opinion. I think it just a little bit more durable than the super glue. And it's a little bit more forgiving because it dries a little bit clearer than the super glue too. And then put it in this last one. Then once everything sets up, we'll be able to put our Sally Hansen's on. It only takes a minute or two for that super glue to set up, and then we just take the Sally Hansen's and just brush it on there. I just feel like it gives it a nice little clear coat, and it kind of helps those eyes kind of just pop a little bit. So you just need a little bit. You don't want to go too much because then it'll like puddle up on your eye. Do it on this last one. And the Sally Hansen dries really fast too. There you go, we got them all rigged up on the Slick Shiner, a soft plastic mold from Do It Molds. The color on the right side is the Electric Shad color, and the color on the left side is the River Shad Reflection color. Both of them are brand new from ProTec. Let's get these things outside and under the water and check out how they swim. With this Finesse Swimbait paired up with that Do It Molds Slick Shiner Swimbait, The head on this wobbles back and forth and gives you that roll that you're always looking for with a good swim bait and a good swim bait jig head. As it's going through the water, it's got a nice horizontal, natural plane, which gives off more realism and it looks much more like a natural fish. The unique head design of this Finesse Swimbait mold, along with the Screw-Loc, those recessed eyes, and the unique design of the head itself, just put this jig in a much different category than a lot of the other swimbait jig heads out on the market. I think this is one that's going to be a player for a lot of people, especially when you need to downsize and have one of those finesse jigs at the ready. Don't forget about my Dual Molds affiliate link and the product list that is down in the description of today's video. Using that affiliate link is going to let Dual Molds know that I sent you over there, and it'll get me credit for any sales. Dual Molds has come out with a lot of new stuff for 2023, so if you want to watch another video of me making some baits with one of their brand new molds, make sure to click on the video that's on the screen right now, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!